Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. I wanted to show you my pineapple lilies. This is one, but this is the one I really wanted to show you. And per my husband's instructions, he said you need to come out and get a close-up of that one for everybody. And I'm pretty sure these others will bloom also a little bit later in the season. And there's 3 in this little pot. And there's also 1 in this pot. We got a little downpour yesterday, but there's nothing in the rain gauge. And I did have to go ahead and water. They're just, even though it was a refreshing, it was very nice, but it didn't get anything to help them to. These little plants were totally wilted down, and so I had to give them all a drink, but they're looking great this morning. I'm sure our heat will take them back to wilted down before this day is over. I actually went ahead and trimmed this little coleus down. It was getting just way too tall and floppy, and I put some little starts from it on either side of her where I had empty holes, and I don't know if they'll make it because they look great this morning. They did good last night, but that heat is going to get up and probably cause them to wilt. But lots of times, don't give up on them right then if you really want that one to grow. And it may not, but it also may. Lots of times they will totally wilt back, and then all the outside leaves you'll have to cut off because they won't come out of it all the time. Just watch them, because they will, most usually they will put down a root, and once they get the root down, they'll begin to grow. That's actually what happened to this little one right here. It wilted all down, and just the little centerpiece was all that was left. But once I trimmed all the old dead stuff off, it's really beginning to come into its own now. It's tiny, but it's healthy, and it's going to be a great beauty. My husband and I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and so I actually stopped and got a few more little plants just because I have some holes in some places I wanted to go ahead and try to fill up. So I got these little periwinkle because they handle our Oklahoma heat better than any other flower that blooms that I have found. And I'm going to try to plant something here. I tried a zinnia, which I was hoping would come up, but I'm about to give up on it. I might try some little alyssum there, but it needs something, I think, rather than just a little empty spot in it. Look how things are filling out, though. Isn't this beautiful? This little coleus, I guess they absolutely love the heat as long as you can keep them watered and in enough shade that it just doesn't kill them. Look at how this one has grown. And this one has just really filled out too. I actually got a few more coleus too. Coleuses are definitely my go-to plant when it comes to filling up a hole, and yet you have to have a cool day to try to clip some of those off and expect them to go ahead and live. So I did go ahead and get a few more coleus. I wish I would have gotten more because, well, I'll show you why. Because I put some here. I put one of the little coleus that I got in this spot, and then one in front of it in this spot. And look at that hole right there. Oh my goodness, wouldn't it be beautiful if there was another one of the exact same color right there in that empty hole between this little girl and this pot in the back. And if they grew up and flourished and just looked beautiful. So I'm hoping to find another one. Actually, honestly, I got 4, but I used the others in 2 other places before I realized I wish I had one there too. So actually I thought of it when I put those there that it would be pretty with one there, but I thought, but I want these others in different spots. So that's what I did, but now I'm still hoping to find one more because I think it would just really fill this spot out and make it just look so much more eye-catching and appealing. But I was saying that Coleuses are my go-to. If you can find a cool day where they'll have a good chance to get started, they will start pretty readily for you if it's not too terribly hot for them. And they're always bright and beautiful, even if not in bloom. They don't have to have a bloom. Their foliage is their color and their beauty. My little bells of Ireland are starting to go to seed, and I'll need to pull those up and get them out of there. Also in my seed box the same thing is happening. Let me go across over there so you can see that. But you can tell they're dying there. So I'm planning actually on leaving them there for a while and letting them drop their seed and make me some more. I think they'll make more. They have in the past before the season's over, so that will be great. And I'm noticing that I do have a little zinnia bloom in this pot. So I had to go over here and get a little closer so you could see the beauty. There's still daylilies. This little pot is still filling out with seed. My friend Dee Dee that gave me this beautiful plumeria actually showed me hers, and it's full of bloom. I hope mine blooms this year. But even if it doesn't bloom, it's gorgeous. Just looking healthy and green. I did look at my little cardinal's nest the other day. She was away from it, so I looked inside. I had to tilt it a little bit, but she came right back to it later, so it's okay. But she does have eggs in there, and I'm sure she's sitting on those to hatch, so that's great. And I did put down some snake away, and hopefully she will get to raise these babies. There was not even enough of a little rain to put anything in our rain gauge. But even at that, you can tell the flowers look so much better and happier. They must have got some nutrition out of that rain, because they just look like they're stronger and ready to take on the heat today. And I have been watering, but it's just not the same as God's watering. And like I said, the daylilies are still in the garden, but they are getting fewer and farther between. And I still have some places in my hoses where it's watering too much because it's coming on down and making puddles in my pathway. But I also did look for some excuse me, for some more hose menders, but I didn't find any yet. I'll still keep looking for those because there's several places I still need to get doing a little better than they are now. And these tiny little pots are where I put the rest of my newly purchased little plants. And actually I tried several things in here, and they just have not anything taken off yet. Not even the rose moss is taken off. I think it may need a little more shade plants here, so I put 2 of the shade Coleuses here, and then I did go ahead and put a periwinkle here too. I just didn't have another one of the coleus. I kind of wish I would have just got all coleus, but then again, the periwinkles just do so well in our heat compared to other things. But so do the coleuses. They do well in our heat, and who would have thought? I certainly didn't until I just experienced it with them, that they handle heat pretty well. This is where I had a butterfly bush, but it did not come back, so I'll need to put something else there at some point. It's okay for this season though. For this year, I think it'll probably be right there unless I find something that I want there, and then I'll go ahead and put it there. Glad some of my little seeds are still trying to come up, and hopefully they will do well. But what I wanted to show you over here is this lily. Isn't it gorgeous? And this little fuzzy wandering Jew is doing great too. It's filling this little pot up. I just hope that I can save it this winter. It's kind of a death sentence for me to take something inside, but I hope I can finally get to where I can grow them inside, because I love them so much. I would certainly hate to lose this. And this little beauty may be totally outgrowing its pot. I should probably take some of it out and make 2 pots out of it, but that too is a job for another day, not in this heat. I believe these little roses are blooming. Little rose moss and purslane moss blooms are a direct result of that little fast, quick downpour we had yesterday. Look at these lovely double petunias blooming. And here's more of the rose moss in bloom. I just wish it would have brought out my little seeds, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to try again on the seeds for these. I'm just afraid they're not going to come up, so I probably should just go ahead and see what I can find for seed and try again. Oh, and look, I'm fixing to have a hibiscus bloom on this little hibiscus plant. And I have tall phlox blooming everywhere. Most of it is called Lara phlox, but this one, I'm not sure if it may be tenor. I'm not sure what the name of it was, but it is a deeper, darker pink than the Lara phlox is. But I love both of them. I would love to have lots of different colors of phlox, but most of mine seem to go to the Lara phlox. But how wonderful it is to have a plant that you can count on. And this little Lara phlox has done it from day one for me. So I have sweat dripping in my eyes and I need to go inside. I need to get busy on my sister's movie. When I started making the movies this last time, I needed to do 5, and I'm on the 3rd one, and at least halfway through it, if not more. So I'm excited about that, and my sister's excited about it now too. She said she can't wait to see it. And I have to say that it is good. It's very good. You know, when you start something with just a dream and then you don't know if you're going to be able to get that over on just with pictures and a song, the words from a song. But when they kind of turn out even better than you'd hoped they would, it's exciting. So I found my little bird again, but it had lost all of its feathers. So I'm thinking maybe a cat had came over and taken it out of there and got its feathers off and then left it. And it may have came back another day to play with it some more, because it was the day before I couldn't find it at all, and then yesterday I found it in a pretty open area, so I think it probably had moved it again, but hopefully it'll leave it alone now. When I come out here, I just wish the weather could be gorgeous. I wish we could have hours upon hours and days upon days of just being out in the garden and loving it and enjoying it. Look at this, it's fixing to bloom. Soon we'll have little Henry Eiler's Rebecca, little, look like kind of like a sunflower, a smaller sunflower, and they'll be blooming all over this before very long. And I've got those staked there and don't have it tied on them, which I probably will need to. Right now it doesn't look like it needs staking, but before this season's over it usually drops down and looks terrible if I don't gather it up and give it a little support. Look at this. I know the rain brought this out. This is Blue Days, and it's beautiful, but it doesn't bloom a whole lot of times. But after a rain, it definitely blooms. So pretty. Crepe myrtle is looking really good. This bright red one, it's one of my favorites. They're all my favorites. You know, in the Bible, the crepe myrtle is a sign of God's blessings in the Old Testament, where it says, instead of the thorn tree shall come up the myrtle. This little pot is beginning to wilt down already. I'll need to put a little water on that while I'm out here now. But I was going to show you that I thought this one was dying, and actually it put on another little bloom for me yesterday. It's looking pretty pitiful right now, but very beautiful color. I like to keep several watering cans out in the garden for little tasks just like that, because I carry the hose from one end to the other of the garden, using it to water each evening. And I do not want to carry that all over the place just to water one little plant. And that way I have it ready to go in the evening to go back to the other side. So that's the way I do that, and it does help. Saves some time and gives that little plant a drink. So my little tiger lily is blooming this morning. Look at this beautiful daylily. This is the first type of daylily I had, and I always loved it. And this little decor piece was painted by my great nephew Trey, and when it was newly painted it was so gorgeous, and I still like it, and I can remember him painting this for me. The stargazer lily is a pretty common lily, but it's probably my favorite. I don't think I've shown you my castor bean in a little bit, and except for the grasshoppers getting after it, it's looking pretty good, growing right on up there. So is some of the elephant ears are growing up. And I did go ahead and purchase a few more coleus and periwinkle for the holes that I have in places. and I noticed I didn't quite get all of them, so I'll probably get a few more. Like this little container here, everything in the back side of it has died out, and I actually planted seed there too that did not come up. I still haven't gotten the seeds here to come up, and I did go ahead and plant a few more, but few is right because I just had a few left in those colors, and I did try them, but they haven't came up yet either. So I'll give them a little bit more time, and then I'll just see what I can find and put probably different colors in there than the ones I wanted. But hopefully these will still come up. I haven't given them but just a few days, so I'll wait a while on this. Look at this pretty hibiscus bloom. And this is that little volunteer castor bean that I have over here. But I had another one that I planted in front and it died. So I'm going to wait until we have a little bit cooler weather and probably go ahead and try to transplant this in the front where I need some shade. And I know it's small now. It's not going to look like it'll make much shade. But when it starts growing, you can see what it does by the one I just showed you. I'm loving this little bright tall phlox. I wish I had several colors and different shades of these. They're so beautiful. And I've already told you, but this is my tall Laura phlox, and it has continuously shown up, bloomed and done well, and just kept going. And I put them in different places and given many of these away, and they're just still beautiful. Zinnias are looking good, and I have at least one vine. I can't remember. I think this is a white black-eyed Susan vine, but either color it'll still be pretty. And my vines just didn't do well this time. I lost every one that I had saved inside over winter, but I've got at least this one, and there's a couple more of the black-eyed Susan vines coming up in the garden in places, but they're all still very small. And the zinnias are totally loved by the butterflies. We actually did get out of the triple digits for, I think, 3 days, but 98 and 99 is still so extremely hot. If the weathermen weren't telling us about it constantly, that we were in lower temperatures, I would never have known. You see, the butterflies are all over this little coneflower too. I hope I'm getting that for you on here. I noticed that our little cardinal, she was gone the other day for a few minutes, and I peeked in and she actually has 4 eggs now. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.